Hello, this is Andrew again. Welcome back to the latest podcast episode. We're going to talk about chapter 15, the taste perception stuff, how we humans experience flavor, and why, like, some people can experience, like the same foods in different ways. Um, Before the chapter, I thought that taste was pretty straightforward. Um, but like in hindsight, yeah, duh, people experience it differently because like color blindness exists. So obviously people are gonna have different tongues too. Not to say that. Anyway, moving on. Um, I just kind of thought like, yo, the tongue detects flavors and that's about it. But it's kind of cool going into, uh, you know, taste being tied to evolution, genetics, survival, psychology, disease. Um, so I thought it was cool how the idea that like flavor and taste are not the same thing. Like taste is pretty limited, while flavor is a lot more complex because it involves smelling stuff. Um, our reading talked about how we can distinguish thousands of odors, but only a small number of like true individual taste sensations, which is really shocking. Just because uh, you know, I feel like a lot of people feel like flavor comes from the tongue when a lot of it comes from that, olfactory part of it instead. Um, and I did know that the tongue map thing was pretty outdated prior to this. And so I was happy to have that. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Uh, Proven, I guess. And so obviously our tongue can detect a lot of the major areas like, sweet, salty, bitter, sour. But I find it funny how even though like that's a misconception, pretty obvious one, I find it funny that they still stick around. But anyway, moving on from that, um, I thought it was cool learning about some of the survival purposes of different tastes. Like I knew prior to this about bitterness and how that was like a big prior to this. I took a lab last year where we did like the super taster stuff, so it was cool to like relearn that stuff, go back into it. um and I knew that like bitterness was really cool because um a lot of the bitterness is related to like poison. Like we would have evolved that due to toxic plants or like rotten meat, stuff of that nature, and so it keeps us safe from that, which I find kind of coincidental because I really love bitter foods. Like I drink coffee every morning, black, and it is my favorite part of every day. Um, Salty flavors, I thought was cool. Like obviously we need sodium to function, and so I think it is interesting learning a bit about that. I mean, the sour stuff was new for me. That being connected to acids, um, like how low levels of it is nice, and like fruits are stuff like that. But if it gets super strong, that kind of indicates, hey, this is spoiling, and our brains go, whoa, crazy. Um, and so there's a nice little balance there where we can enjoy like mildly acidic stuff while still kind of being warned. And um, that reminds me of like being a kid and eating like really like spoiled orange juice and it like fermenting and getting really gross. Um, and then I know like sweet, sugar, energy rich foods, since glucose is like our main energy source, obviously humans are going to evolve to prefer that. Um, and I thought that the artificial sweetener stuff was really cool. Just how they like stimulate our sweet receptors without providing calories. Um, and yeah, they help reduce sugar intake, but they definitely like disrupt our appetite and our brain's regulation and kind of screws with that. But moving on from that, the chapter also talked about there being more than four just major basic tastes, kind of like the umami stuff with like the whole savory and protein related taste connections to like glutamate and MSG. And I thought it was really neat because obviously like MSG has a controversial reputation, even though there's not really a whole lot of evidence suggesting that it's bad. Um, and so I really enjoyed reading about umami as like that fifth true basic taste, um, despite the skeptics. So I just found it interesting. Um, so anyway, I really liked reading again about the super taster stuff. I just went a lot more into it than I had learned previously. stuff like the PTC and the prop taste stuff being like super bitter and all that, while other people can't taste it. I remember when I did my super taster stuff, I could not taste the bitterness. Like it just was paper to me. And so um, at first I was like, oh my gosh, no, I'm so sad I'm not a super taster. But I kind of like it because we were learning about like, um, spicy foods and the bitter stuff and all that. It's like, oh, it'll make sense that I'm not a super taster because I really like bitter stuff and I really like spicy foods. And so I'm kind of glad that I am now. But it was cool learning about that and how, other people can have a lot stronger sensations to different things, which I hadn't really ever thought about or considered prior to that. And I thought it was neat, like learning how, people who are highly sensitive to bitterness might avoid vegetables because a lot of the bitter compounds in them. And, super tasters might consume, less high fat foods because those fatty foods are very sensory orally for them. Obviously, I went into like COVID and how that offers or changes perception and all that. But I don't know. I find it kind of sad, people who like lose taste during illnesses, are losing a lot of smell more than anything else. And since a lot of flavor depends so heavily on that like olfactory sense, I found it kind of neat learning how dramatically that can reduce flavor experiences for people, even if your tongue is still perfectly functional. Overall, though, I really like this. This is one of my favorite chapters so far. I mean, like I knew a lot about the eye stuff prior, just because I enjoy. I don't know. I really like biology, and so learning about stuff that I use my eyes every day. I use my tongue every day. I find it really interesting and fun to learn about. So, anyway, podcast over.